Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My husband has always been sort of a cheapskate, and I've always understood him since most of his behavior revolving around money came from the fact that he's had a pretty tough childhood. His parents struggled a lot financially until he got into his adolescence, and it was finally then that they had made it. I guess that habit of his never faded away because even when I met him, he continued to be super frugal with his money. I tried to understand him through it all because he said he was getting therapy for it. His parents, I, and everyone supported him through it, and there was definitely some progress that we could see happening. I was happy, and my happiness increased even more when I fell pregnant with our first child, and my happiness went through the roof. I guess it was at this point that I stopped being so bothered about his habits. I was young, dumb, and hopeful for a beautiful future that never existed. This is how I continued living for the past 3 years. I gave birth to two of our children, got married, and well, all of that with rose-tinted glasses on. I wouldn't lie and say the red flags were here all along. Sometimes they were and sometimes they weren't. But for the most part, it was things I could chalk up to as being situational, like my husband coming back from home later, him spending most of his salary on himself, and other stuff. I was stupid. I really was. And honestly, this time I would have fallen for his trap once again, but I don't know what exactly happened that made me take a stop and look back to question myself. WTF was that even? Maybe it's the sense of independence that I got from starting to earn by myself. I was a stay-at-home mom for 3 years, and between when I gave birth to my first and second child. I felt a sense of independence, a strength of sense, and just a hint of fire inside of me. This job meant a lot to me, and I thought my husband admired my independence too, because I saved and saved for months and months to surprise my husband for a vacation abroad for our anniversary. He was ecstatic, and so was I. I immediately handed him the money to make the necessary reservations and stuff because he was way more experienced traveling abroad than I was. He happily accepted doing so, and I thought absolutely nothing of it. That was a big mistake. I know, but why would I ever think that the father of my children, the man I thought was the love of my life, would do such a thing? I mean, now I know he would, but before all of this happened, I did not. And so I simply just watched him talk and talk about the trip as if it was going to be the best time of our lives. I did all the packing, spent so much money to buy the weather-appropriate clothes and everything in between. I had thought to myself that all that was left now was to get up and leave. But then it all came crashing down. Thankfully, a week before the flight, I was checking in if I had everything that I needed. I checked out documents and everything that we needed to show, mainly at the airport, and well, that's where I found it. 1 pass for business class and 3 for economy. I was shocked, not because I thought my husband had done this intentionally, but because I thought it was a genuine mistake from his end. I began panicking, and I started calling my husband and hoping he'd pick up immediately, and well, instead of having a call that calmed my nerves down, I had a call that made me feel weirder. It was the fact that he had nothing to say when I told him about the tickets. All he said was, "Okay, and?" I was even more dumbfounded at that response and asked him if he had nothing to say about it. I was even more dumbfounded at that response and asked him if he had nothing to say about it. He said he didn't, at least until he got home. It was at that moment I realized something was very off, and I got the confirmation when he got home. He had the same nonchalant, disinterested vibe in him. It was like this was something he was waiting for to happen. I didn't let that stop me from speaking up, though, and I confronted him with everything I was letting build up inside of me. It led to an argument between us where he confessed he did it on purpose because apparently, in his words, this was the least he deserved for taking care of the family all these years. I owed it to him. I questioned him, asking him how he did not owe me anything for everything I had done for him and the kids all these years. He responded that it was nothing in comparison to what he was doing. I was speechless. I knew I couldn't stay in this house any longer. I packed up my things and left the house along with the kids. I moved in with my friend and have been ever since. It's been a day since everything went down. I have been hearing nothing but stop overreacting from my in-laws and husband, and honestly, that's making me more irritable. The more I've been thinking about my husband, his red flags and everything in between, the more I'm finding myself wanting to get a refund on everything and invest the money on good divorce lawyers. But there's also a part of me that says I need to take a step back and not take any decision in the heat of the moment. What do you guys think? AITA? A lot of you guys were suggesting that I meet up with my husband and talk through things. I honestly thought about that for a second as well, but after what I found out after meeting my in-laws, I really don't think there's any need to meet up with my husband about things. And it's not because I've decided to become inconsiderate and mean. Nope, that's far from it. It's because this man had the sheer audacity to spread lies about why I had left the house. Apparently, according to him, I left the house because I was having an affair and couldn't stand his confrontation. I laughed when I heard that, y'all. I made it clear to my in-laws what actually happened, and well, aside from being upset, they also told me they'd help me cover the money that I lost while refunding the money from the vacation. So what? That's exactly what I did. I canceled all and everything my husband had dropped his money on. He has no idea about it yet, at least from my end. I'm sure he'll realize sooner or later, and when he does, I'm waiting so that I can have a separate conversation with him. Until then, I've started preparing to meet the divorce lawyers. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens next. Just as I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. And I think I have just reached my breaking point. Yesterday was the day that the trip was actually supposed to happen. My phone began blowing up with calls and texts from him. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking what the actual F was going on for this man to spam me so much. And well, picking up the call made it all clear to me. I was informed that he was waiting at the airport, hoping that I'd come with the kids for the flight. I was stunned. I told him I had canceled everything. He was enraged. He blew up at me, telling me how he would fly with his love. My jaw fell on the floor, but I just knew I had to ask him to explain more. And boy, did he explain everything. He told me that the main reason he had planned to fly business was because he was planning to fly with his affair partner that he had met on a dating app. She knew about me and was ready to keep hush-hush. They both had made big plans to meet up and have a romantic time when we weren't around. His angry rant ended with him saying that it was because of me that he wouldn't be able to live his dream. I was astounded. I knew this man was out of his mind. So, the very next day, I made the lawyers serve him the divorce papers as he was with his parents, just in case so that he wouldn't do something crazy. It was a good move because he had a full-blown breakdown and had to be calmed by his parents. I was honestly okay before all of this happened, but now I'm thinking to myself, if I even know this man. I don't know, guys. I'm truly speechless at this point. Hey, everyone. I know it's been a while since I last updated. I decided to get off social media because everything was just too overwhelming to me. And well, glad that I took the decision because I'm back and with a positive update. So here's all that happened ever since I've left. My ex-husband and I got our divorce finalized. I got the house in the proceedings because I was able to prove his infidelity. He's been struggling a lot with his mental health, so he's moved in with his parents. He's even come forward to apologize to me for acting the way he did. A lot of you were right, actually. He was completely burnt out and struggling with some sort of identity issue. As a result, I've gotten the children's custody for the time being. I'm always open to giving him a chance back into the children's lives, only if he proved to me that he was worth it. As for the vacation, the kids and I ended up taking another vacation with the money I had left over. It was truly an amazing experience. It made me feel independent, strong, and everything that I thought I wasn't. And for all of this, I'd like to thank you guys. ESH, you're the a-hole for not doing yourself and your kids a favor earlier and ending your horrible relationship with this man. Just the start of this post told me that this man is not worth your energy. Regardless, though, I'm glad you ended up leaving that scumbag. NTA, I honestly can't believe you even have to ask, but still. Your husband sounds like a narcissistic a-hole who would have made your life a living hell if you didn't get your eyes opened at the right time. I, 28, female, have been NC with my family for most of my adult years. My dad died when I was 9, ironically of the same condition, and my mom remarried pretty quickly and tried to force a blended family situation, complete with trying to make me call my stepdad dad and making all the kids mad with that. We don't do step in this family. You're all just siblings. Thing and other bullshit. It backfired spectacularly. I got the brunt of it because I was the oldest and most vocal about pushing back. So my teen years were one giant argument, and I went NC as soon as I could move out. I agreed to LC a year ago after my mom apologized for trying to force me to accept my stepdad as my dad and started trying to repair the relationship. But I keep my distance. Most of my step-siblings also went LC with them, so I think my mom and stepdad have realized how badly they messed up and are trying not to be lonely old people now. Since my diagnosis was confirmed, I've been thinking about what I want my last year or two max to look like, and honestly, I don't see my family being a part of that. I don't want to deal with them trying to process rapidly all the old bullshit before I go, and there's no loose ends. I want to wrap up with them. I also want people to remember me like I am now and not what I'm going to be like at the end. So my plan is to just not tell them. Enjoy what time I have left to be active and then let my POA person handle who gets to know what and when afterwards. Ideally, my family will find out after I'm gone to avoid an irritating deathbed scene. I also don't want them interfering in my end-of-life care, because my mom has very different religious opinions on things than I do. I mentioned this to some friends recently, and they were really disturbed by it because I would be robbing my family of the chance for closure and making amends while it's still possible. And it will probably hurt them to know I kept something this big from them in a way that will make the grieving worse. One friend in particular found it really upsetting and told me how awful it was finding out that her brother died suddenly instead of being able to deal with it ahead of time. So I feel like a bit of an AH now for maybe making things harder after I'm gone, but also I still kind of don't want the hassle. Nobody should have to get a diagnosis like this. Your strength and clarity right now are amazing. I believe you make your own family throughout your life, and that blood is not necessarily a tie that binds. You are more than justified in your decision. If your feelings change at any time, you can change course. Please yourself. You are not in control of their feelings or reactions. NTA. NTA, you deserve to have the peace and tranquility that you want during your final transition. It doesn't sound like you plan to cut your mother off completely cold turkey, but maybe just keep LC very low. Is that right? Perhaps she's learned from her fiasco of trying to force you into her vision of a blended family and would not try to force her beliefs and griefs onto you. But like you, I don't think I'd want to take that chance. Hopefully, your business and legal advisors, as well as your executor, have all the necessary documents in place to protect you. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She works hard taking care of our kids and maintaining our home. I do what we have agreed is a fair portion of the housework and all of the yard work. She has full access to all of our accounts except for my personal spending account. I put the exact same amount into her personal spending account, but I can only deposit, not withdraw. I have a home office, but I do not work from home. It is just a place I can go to sit and catch up on anything I might need to from work, and also play video games or play with my toys. My wife also has a room that is dedicated to her and her hobbies. I have asked her multiple times to please leave my room alone. I clean it myself. I take my dishes to the kitchen and either wash them or place them in the dishwasher. I take out my own trash. When I play with my kids in my office, I clean up after all of us. When my wife joins me in my office for video games, I clean up afterwards. There is quite literally no reason for her to do anything in there when I am not in it. I do not have a lock on my door, but I do have my laptop password protected. I like to line up some of my collection of Lego minifigs by my screen on my laptop. I like to imagine that Batman and Spider-Man are watching me work. I know it is silly, but I like it. For some reason, my wife decided to go clean my office. I guess she needed to move my laptop, so she closed it. Not all the way, because my minifigs were in the way. When I came home, she told me what happened. The screen was not working at all. I had to get my old monitor out and hook it up so I could check and see if anything else was busted. It was just a screen. I checked and it would cost about $250 for parts and labor to replace my screen. So I decided to replace the laptop and use the old one with my old monitor for the kids. It was fine other than the non-working screen. The cost to replace my laptop was only $600. Yay, Black Friday. So I took $350 from my account, and I took $250 from the money I was going to deposit into her personal account for December, and I got my new computer. This will in no way affect our budget for anything other than our own personal side projects and hobbies. I was looking forward to getting myself a new Lego set to work on with my kids over the holidays, but now I will have to rebuild one of my old ones with them, which is also fun. Well, now she is pissed at me because she has to cut back on her fun stuff for December. She likes to have a spa day with her mom, for example. I said that I wasn't responsible for my computer being broken and that she 100% was. She said it was an accident and that I should forgive her. I said I wasn't upset, but if she felt I should forgive her, then I fully forgive her. But she still has to help me pay for a new laptop. AITA? I did not just take her money. We talked about it first. She is still upset that I expect her to take responsibility. I did not make a dictatorial decision. We do not work that way. How is what your wife did an accident in any way, shape, or form? You are very clear that she is not to go into your office without you. Rather than adhere to that very simple and reasonable restriction, she decided to trespass right over your boundary and mess with your stuff. You have every right to be livid given the facts as you've described them. Your wife appears to be doing nothing less disgusting than snooping. You are to be commended for the grace you showed her in light of that misconduct. With respect to your decision to take the money out of her fun money, it's perfectly reasonable. The funds have to come from somewhere. They shouldn't come out of the household budget, and they shouldn't come from your fun money. They should come from the person who committed the infraction. They should come from your wife's fun money. The maxim, you break it, you buy it, applies. NTA. ESH. Your wife should take responsibility for breaking your laptop and for not respecting your wishes regarding your room. However, there is an issue with your dynamic and the way you handled it. I presume that your wife has no way of unilaterally withdrawing from your personal account to replace something that you might break of hers. I know you said that you technically didn't withdraw from her account, but withheld it, which is functionally the same in this scenario. If you broke something of hers, you would have to graciously agree to take it out of your account, but if you disagree that it's your fault for breaking something, she would have no way to do what you did. You say that y'all had a discussion, but she disagreed. You ultimately had the final decision-making power and would if the situation were reversed too. Do you value her stay-at-home contributions as much as you value breadwinning? If so, what would you have done if you were a dual-income couple? You wouldn't have been able to withdraw or withhold from her account if you all disagreed about whose fault something is in that scenario.